I always wonder whether the vegetables that I have in my salad ever wanted to be part of a forest. Hi everyone, welcome to Nareen's Life MS. This is Nareen and it's time for a Truthful Tuesday. And this Truthful Tuesday, I wanted to talk about something that is, of course, very close and very dear to my heart. And as you can probably guess, it is about food, right? And the one thing I wanted to talk about food was, how, whatever you consume, do you leave, do you ensure that, whatever you are eating, that your body is conditioned well for any shakeups happening to it. And the reason I wanted to ask this is because sometimes what ends up happening is there might be certain times, right, maybe a period of 1 to 2 weeks where I end up having my regular food throughout the week. And so there is no cheat meal. And as a result, when you go for like 2 weeks or maybe even longer, having food that is relatively easy on your stomach with good proportion of your fruits and vegetables and all the healthy things to eat. The second you probably go for a cheat meal or go for a party, you know the first thing that happens is you fall sick. And that is the reason I wanted to actually discuss this with you, that how do you condition your body so that in the off time that you are going for a cheat meal or you are going out for a party or even going somewhere else for a sit down dinner where the food is not going to be similar to whatever you normally have. How do you prevent yourself from actually falling sick or feeling a little under the weather as a result of having something that is not your general food, right? And the reason I ask this is because a lot of times what ends up happening is I generally will eat healthy 6 days a week, and then sometimes just because it is just easier to have the same food for the 7th day, usually reserved for the cheat day, it tends to be sometimes it multiplies into like 2 weeks of just clean eating. And then I go to a party where the food is generally maybe not as health oriented as the regular food I have, and the next day I am generally a mess. And this tends to it happens once in a while with me, and I just wanted to know how you combat that, how you pretty much find yourself you know to you know maybe quell your tummy at that point in time. Because usually what ends up happening is my entire system sort of goes for a reset and pretty much takes anywhere from 2 days to 4 days to pretty much get back onto track of um, you know being able to have my body move the same way. So usually the one thing I like doing is to even be a little disciplined about when I have, like, you know, having the cheat meal on at least a weekly basis, or at least if it's not, a cheat meal, it'll be, you know, a cheat component of a meal. So, majority of the meal is healthy, but then there is something that is maybe not, you know, as healthy, um, because, you know, there are times when I actually feel like, I'm maybe getting allergic, or maybe, my tummy is not suited for any decadent food, right? Be it something that is higher on the oily side, or maybe a little too much red meat, or maybe dessert for that matter. Um, and, you know, and one thing that I can honestly say in hindsight is that I love all of those things to, you know, to a certain extent. So definitely do not want to completely remove them from, my from my lifestyle, right? I do want to enjoy that occasional, you know trip to a fast food joint, sometimes go to an ice cream parlor, or even end up, enjoying, you know a hearty meal which composes of red meat. So, with that said, what are some of your methods of ensuring that, you know you are able to digest whatever you eat, and, not actually end up having, more of a whiplash because you have been eating clean for a slightly longer amount of time? um, because that would definitely be very helpful to me, right? There are certain times where, I do want to eat healthy, or at least eat, my regular just have my regular diet for a extended period of time, just in case that, there might be travel involved, there might be certain things that could definitely end up changing my diet for slightly longer than, a single meal kind of thing. So, it definitely would help me so that I can, you know prepare my body a little better. And knowing that this is a truth that I am dealing with, I hope, if even if you are dealing with something very similar, please do share your own thoughts, your insights, your experiences, so that we can get a conversation started, and maybe I can learn a little bit about, how I can ensure that, the cheat meals do not turn out to be, um, you know bad in any way, because at the end of the day, food does make me happy, and so I would want food at all times to, actually fill me with happiness. So, of course, with all of that said, this is Narene's Eye with MS. I am Narene, and I do hope your Tuesday has gone very well. But of course, with all of that said, here's me wishing you a good night, sweet dreams, and I will catch you tomorrow.